Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another Monday Mindset. It is February 10th. Can't believe it's February 10th, 2025. What a game last night. Any Kansas City fans in the house today? I feel for you guys, man. That was a beat down. That was just one of those times where you're just off. And it's kind of like I saw a tweet, I think it was, that you talked about sometimes you go out there and play golf and just nothing is hitting right. Your long game, your short game, nothing is working. It doesn't matter what you do. And then you get into trying to tweak your swing, and then it's just the worst golf game you've ever played. That's how it felt for the Kansas City Chiefs, man. That was rough. And I'm not even a true Philadelphia Eagles fan. Like I've told you guys, I grew up a Washington Commanders fan, and Washington Commanders got beat down by the Eagles. But man, that was a beatdown. How do you rise from the ashes there? It got me thinking about leadership. I want to share some leadership lessons today that I've learned probably the hard way, but have made a game changer for me, and that I'm still trying to grow in. It's funny how the longer you go in business, you realize there's a couple skill sets that you really, really need to master. One is sales. You got to, and I would almost classify it as like the art of communication. Communication, which most of sales flows from, you need to master. And then leadership is a constant, ever-evolving thing that you need to be mastering. Let me see if I can refresh my comments here. For some reason, on Facebook's actual live platform, it doesn't, for some reason, show you the comments in here. Maybe it does for some of you, but for me on my side, it does not show the comments. And after the fact, I'm looking and I'm like, oh, there's actual comments there, but I don't see it. So let me see if I can get those working just in case. But I hope you guys are having a great morning. Comment in if you were cheering for the Philadelphia Eagles or if you were cheering for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me know if you're having a good morning or a bad morning. I know a lot of people are having a happy morning here in Philadelphia. A lot of my team. So let's talk about leadership. I wrote down a bunch of different things of lessons I've learned. One lesson that I'll start off with that, is obvious when I say it out loud, but maybe I haven't done it as much, is take a longer view on people. And take a longer term view on people and realize that you're not just their leader, but you are also their coach. Meaning your job is to lead them, and part of leading them is coaching them. And I think oftentimes we fall into the trap of managing people and trying to lead them to a vision, which as a great leader, you have to set a big vision. But we fail to realize that, hey, we're also developing this person, and development doesn't happen overnight. When your kid is learning, and maybe I've learned this more as a father now, when your kid's learning to do something, it takes repetition after repetition. A lot of times, failure after failure. You think of the simple analogy of a kid learning how to walk, learning how to stand up. They fall down so many times, but you have to allow that to take place for them to develop. And I think too often when we're trying to grow a business, we take such a short-term view on people, a month goal, quarters. And what I'm not saying here is not to have high standards and good KPIs to drive an economical business. But what I am saying is it is oftentimes worth a short-term loss to get a long-term gain with people. And so I would challenge you in leadership, take a longer-term view on people, because the people that are my best, they've been with me for 15 plus years. And, they've developed. They weren't perfect over those years. And oftentimes I think back and I go, man, I just had such an advantage in the beginning because now I'm so KPI centric and so metric driven, and we have the stats and the reporting on so many parts of our business, if not all the parts of our business. So it makes us very, very strict and process oriented. When you're not performing, you're out. We move you on, we write you up, all that good stuff. But I think about my best people, and I go, man, they were with me back when I had no metrics, back when I wasn't tracking every move that they did, in essence, and look at what they've developed into. I don't have 15 years to develop every single person, but in an essence, I do. I just need to think about it in that way. And as a great leader, you'll see the potential in people and be able to put people, as Jim Collins says in Good to Great, into the right seat of the bus. Right? You're in the bus as a business. You're going from point A to point B. How do you get the people in the right seats on that bus in order for you to improve? Take a longer term view on people. So that's something that has stuck out with me. Another one that, plays as, always there's a pull and a push in business, or a give and a take. There's this natural tension in a healthy relationship or in a healthy business. So this next one can cause natural tension on the taking the longer term view, which is you as the leader, you set the standard and you should constantly be raising that standard. I interviewed the guy who created the 24-hour fitness gym, and he created the whole concept of the 24-hour fitness gym. And he talked about, everybody can be a superstar if the bar is set at the floor. Everybody can be a superstar. You have to set the bar high, and you have to set it knowing that your people are probably never going to obtain 100% of that bar, but they're going to fall 80% of that bar, sometimes 60% of that bar. So imagine if you set realistic standards from a standpoint of like you're setting it at the 80%, what do you think is going to happen? People don't just hit 100% of something. They will go 80% of that 80%. And so you have to realize that your job as a leader is to set such a high standard that people are pushing towards, that drives the culture of the organization. And you should constantly be raising that standard, because I have found in my years, I'm curious if you guys have found this too, two things I have found is, one is players want to be challenged and pushed, and they want to have extremely high standards. Whenever I go in and there's a piece of our business that's not working, and we'll go in and in essence kind of blow it up in a way, like we're literally shaking it to its foundation. And usually 9 times out of 10, when you shake it to its foundation, all the B players, all the C players, when accountability comes in, when the standards come in, when we expect you to be great comes in, the B players or C players, they get off the boat. The A players that were kind of suffering, they rise because they want that. They want to play with the Michael Jordan. They want to win the championship. And I think we care a little too much about the sensitivity of challenging people to be great, and we miss out on, no, that's what A player people want. And honestly, that's what a C player should want, but you can't control their response. You can only control what you do. And so I would challenge you, set really high standards. People will leave. Unfortunately, when you set high standards, you don't want them to, but they will. But what remains is really solid, and you can build that business unit, that component, off of people who really want to be great, and you can invest in those people for the long term. So that's another leadership lesson for you. One that has really helped Reminder Media, and I think it's just naturally because of my gifting is more of a sales or marketing gifting, is always have a sales-focused culture in everything you do. So everyone is the sales department. Everyone might not do the sales, but everybody is the sales department. From my software engineers to my accountants to my operators, everybody throughout our company needs to know that sales isn't everything. Sales is the only thing, because sales is the exchange of value. Sales is an indication that you are providing enough value to the marketplace that someone, in exchange for the value that you're giving them, wants to give you back something of value, i.e. money, which drives the revenue for your company. So I want our product and our service and our culture to be so sales oriented to where people are asking themselves every single day, how am I driving the sales? Like I often give to my new class that comes in the example that, look, I don't want you to come in and punch a clock for a 9-to-5 job. I can find a lot of people with technical skills. Take accounting, for instance. I can find a lot of accountants that can help me process payroll and pay the bills. I can. That's just a reality. So what do I need out of my accountants? I need my accountants to be vision-oriented, to be mission-oriented, which is sales-oriented. I want my accountant to go home, and when their significant other asks them, hey, what do you do for a living? I want them to say, I empower entrepreneurs to live a life of freedom by helping them close more deals in their business and retain the clients that they have. I don't want them to say, oh, I process payroll and I do accounting and pay the bills. I don't want them to say that. That's a technical skill. I want them to say, this is what I drive to. How does an accountant do that? Just one example. I know if our accountant doesn't process payroll on time, our salesperson is not going to be very happy. And if our salesperson is not going to be happy, they're not going to be motivated to pick up that phone and call a new prospect. And if they don't call a new prospect, they'll never talk to that insurance agent that needs help in their business to get referrals and to get repeat transactions. They'll never help that person. If they never help them, then that can never go to my customer service representative that can onboard them and get our products out to their database. And if our products don't go out to their database, they won't get referrals. And if they don't get referrals, they won't close deals. And if they don't close deals, they don't get commission checks. And if they don't get commission checks, guess what? They don't have the money in their business to be able to do the things they want to do when they want to do them. In essence, they have less freedom. So I want my accountant to realize, hey, when I process payroll accurately and on time every single time, it affects this entrepreneur down here living a life of freedom. And that entrepreneur, because we're giving them freedom, will turn around and pay us, which will advance the life of freedom that we live. That is the culture that I believe you must have in your organization, where every component of your business, people can tie it back to your vision, and it needs to be a sales-driven culture, because if sales isn't happening, nothing is happening. At best, you have a charity or a hobby if you don't have sales. So that's another leadership lesson for you there. Man, let me pull up another tab and see. I don't know if I can get these comments to work here on Facebook Live, but I'm gonna see if I can pull up another tab and keep that live going and go in there. One, make sure that you guys are actually being able to hear me. Okay, good. I think I got it up here. Okay, so next on my list that I wrote down was communicate with transparency. So this is a huge one, a goal that I've challenged myself with, which is almost impossible because I'm not a perfect person, is to be 100% honest 100% of the time, but communicate with love, basically. So I want to be 100% honest 100% of the time, which means I need to communicate with transparency and with authenticity. And I need to not sugarcoat things. I need to tell people when things are bad, and I need to tell people when things are good. I need to not make up things. We tend to sugarcoat things. We tend to do what we call the kick-ass sandwich when we're delivering feedback, where we say a compliment, but we really are just saying a compliment so we can deliver the bad news and the critique, and then we close it out with a compliment. Have you been trained on this before? But in essence, what you're doing is you're kind of sugarcoating the message, and you're devaluing your compliments, because 9 times out of 10, you really just wanted to talk to them about the critique, and you're trying to soften it with a compliment in the beginning, a compliment at the end, because you think that's what will motivate them. But 9 times out of 10, what I find is that it feels inauthentic, and it feels like you're trying to manipulate. It feels like you're not being transparent. And so I challenge leaders all the time, do not shy away from radical candor. But a better lesson to yourself is if you can't do a kick-ass sandwich, you know what that means? If you can't give a compliment, give critique, and give another compliment, because that's not coming across the right way, what does that mean? It means you're not actually recognizing people enough during normal times. So when you give the critique, you've already had a 5-to-1. You've given 5 compliments or praises over the course of the weeks and days to a 1 critique. So you're out of balance and actually in delivering your compliments at a better time than during the critique, if that makes sense. So that's just my personal opinion. All right, last thing I wrote down that I think can help you is be decisive and take action first. So you heard me talk about act, track, and pivot. Most people, there's a great book out there, Ready, Fire, Aim. And the idea is most people aim before they fire. But this guy has built multiple $50+ million businesses, and he has found that his key to success is he fires before he aims, because people who execute, better execution beats better product and strategy every single time. If you can be a master at execution, meaning you're acting and you're measuring and you're pivoting, if you can do that, you will win as a leader, even with the maybe not as good strategy, because strategy is so nuanced, and oftentimes when you get feedback from the market, that is what dictates what you do more often than not, than in the boardroom developing some great business strategy. So I would just challenge you that be decisive and take action. An answer is better than no answer. Do not get paralysis by analysis, as they say. So there are some leadership lessons for you as we start February 10th, the week of February 10th here in 2025. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Let's get out there and win for us, for our clients, for our family. Appreciate you. Happy Monday.